Hello everyone, myself Saurabh Thakur and Senior Machine Learning Engineer at Mindbuzz. We recently hosted an event for Startup Grind at our premises, which is Make in India 4.0. For this, we have expert panelists, which include Mr. Anand Devdar, who is the Group CIO and Head of IT Operations, Force Motor. And along with him, we have Mr. Ranjit Belke, who is the CEO of Kinetic Communication. The great session, the panelists discussing about the manufacturing sector, which has been progressing, a lot of government policies which is helping the EV sectors to move ahead. There is a lot of effect of global instability of due to the war. What kind of infrastructure is required just to make sure that Indian products are world standard? We are exporting a lot of manufacturing goods, and how we are leveraging the AI technologies, robotics, automation in the coming time. There's so much coming up in this video, so stay tuned till the end and do not forget to like, share, and subscribe. Yeah. So I'd like to request Anand and Ranjit to introduce yourself and then we can start with the session. Yeah.
Very good morning, all. I'm Anand Devdar, as well as a group CIO for Force Motors, Giant Industries, and Force Rolls-Royce joint venture, which is into engine manufacturing. So I look after 9 plants across India. In addition to that, as cut across all domains such as IT security, business application, SAP, infrastructure, and digitalization.
I'm Ranjit Bilke. I'm a CEO at Kinetic Communication. I have around 20 plus years of experience. I'm a mechanical graduate of 2004. I did my MBA in finance and marketing. I worked in various industries, basically from the manufacturing side like Bharat Forge, Tata Motors, General Motors, Dana, and then last 1.5 years I'm a part of electronic manufacturing industry. So being by education I'm a mechanical, but now I'm also adopting the new technologies and learning the electronics. And basically I'm working on the EV, electric vehicle mobility solutions for two-wheeler, three-wheelers and four-wheelers.
Thank you. So I think you got to know the panelists over here. So the today's theme which we have is nothing but making India 4.0 and $1 trillion economy and beyond. So what we expecting over here, what we foresee over there, that a lot of things have been changing. We are saying like making India 1, 2, 3, 4. We are being what present scenario, what is right now, and what we are looking beyond that. So the first question I want to know: do you really think that $1 trillion economy what we are expecting is a realistic dream or not? So that was the first question. Do you have faith in this?
Yes, $1 trillion.
By 2030, we are expecting next 5, 10 years, our growth is being going up right now.
Yeah. So it is coming for sure. Currently, we are at $750, $800 million, and we have about 6 years to go. And even if we grow at 5%, we are going to reach that $1 trillion for sure. Second thing is there are various aspects that go into it. We have you all know we have got close to 65% of our population which are below 35 years. And that is a huge, huge advantage for us. Second important factor is out of that as well, 50% are below 25 years. So there is no other country which is at our position right now. Even China, there is an aging population, or any other country. So population wise, and second is we have a cheap labor as well. So the labor cost is also very low, even if you compare with China in that case. Then the third aspect is our English, you can say, because most of the countries, the English speaking population is quite high in India. Other countries are catching up with us. On technology side, we are producing at least 20 lakh engineers per year across India. So with these factors and with government support, I think we can reach around 1 trillion for sure.
Okay. So, do you really think what kind of initiative the government should take, or what have they have taken it, and what should they take so that we could be able to achieve it much faster? So, what's your take on that? How the government policies are they really good enough, or they
So
still
there is
good?
a, yeah, so there is an index for measure, ease of doing business, right? So I think 8 years back we were at 143 or 120, I don't know. Now we are at 69. So there is a quantum jump in the last 8 years. This government has done a lot for sure, and there are many things which we can do to promote entrepreneurship or manufacturing sector. First is that how much we are investing in infrastructure. If all our ports and our tier 1, tier cities are connected properly, that will also give a huge boost because money multiplier effect comes into picture. Whatever money is spent, it multiplies by 10, factor of 10, when it goes to the last mile. Second is government policies such as Make in India and the PLI scheme, especially for the EV sector. That is going to contribute sure. And so we discuss about infrastructure, we will discuss about government policies. There is huge capital outflow from China, and most of it will be going to Southeast Asian countries. So it is either Philippines, Vietnam, India, or some other countries which will take a pie of that. So how could we attract that investment? It's a matter of time. So a strong leadership will help in that for sure.
Sounds good. Sanjeev, what's your
Thanks, Anand, for contributing on this question. I have some points addition to what Anand has described. So basically, the first question whether 1 trillion export on the manufacturing side, that's the target we have taken to achieve by 2030. For sure, it is possible, and I think we will reach to that target by 2028. That's what the current trend is. We export our contribution in global export is around 2.5% to 3%, right? And from the manufacturing side, it is still lower. If we consider just the manufacturing, export is around 1.5% in global export. What Anand said is around 700 billion of export we do every year, out of which if we isolate manufacturing side, it's around 350 to 400 billion US dollar of export what we do every year. So we have to reach double our export in next 4 to 5 years, and it is difficult task but certainly achievable. So there are challenges and opportunities. Let's look at what are the opportunities what we have. Basically, till few years back, our entire focus was on the IT sector, right? From the manufacturing side, there was not so much focus that we should explore our manufacturing capabilities, and we were not believers that we have the workforce, we have the talent, and our industries are capable of focusing into the manufacturing side. So entire focus was on the IT side. So now I think we have started believing, and also government initiatives are also there to support manufacturing side. The challenges are basically we have the deficit on the infrastructure, right? If we see top 5 countries who are doing great in manufacturing, number one is China, who is around 35% contributor to global manufacturing.
Are you speaking about specific electronic sector or
No, manufacturing. 35% is contributed by China. It's huge. So that's why we call China as the hub of manufacturing. Followed by US, Germany, Japan. India stands at number 5 position, which we deteriorated in last 2 years. We were ranked 3 in 2022-23. Now we are at rank 5. If we see our contribution to manufacturing side is around 2.5% to 3%. So we are at number 5. So there is a lot of potential, right? What are the advantage what we see, and we should take this as the opportunity is China plus one strategy. What most of the global OEMs from US and Europe are adopting, that they want to move or they have to have the second source outside China. So basically, India, Vietnam, Malaysia, these are the countries in Southeast Asia where the similar kind of workforce infrastructure is of doing business is existing. As Anand said that though we have a fog lift in ease of doing business from rank of 128 to around 60. We are at rank 60 right now. Still, most of the things have to be done. But at least now we have the right mindset, right? Okay. The mindset is very important. The mindset is there, followed by government initiatives like FAME, right? Basically, FAME is for the hybrid and electric vehicle. PLI production link incentives. Then we have the Make in India, Samad Bharat, we have. Then for the roadside development, we have this highway and
Infrastructure
development. But a lot of focus has to be done on the infrastructure because that's an enabler. And as I say, we have the lack of deficit. We are spending just 3.5% of our GDP in infrastructure. China is spending around 9.5% to 10% of their GDP in infrastructure. Right? We are just having around 11,000 roads in infrastructure. It's a huge deficit.
Okay.
Even if we spend around 1.5 trillion Indian rupees, still we will be covering our deficit. We are far away from going to the development, but definitely today is the day that at least we have started thinking down the line 10 to 15 years, 20 years, we can establish ourselves as a developed country. Number two in manufacturing is attracting the FDI. China is attracting all global FDIs. We are lacking in attracting the FDI. The China attracted around 100 billion FDI in 2023. We are at just 20 billion US dollar. And you will not be, you will be astonished who is the number one contributor in FDI. Any case, who was in 2023, which country contributed in FDI?
Rough guess, anyone?
No, in India. The inflows in India. Japan is one of the countries, but who is the number one country who has contributed huge investment in India?
European countries.
The Mauritius contributed around 25% of FDI.
Number 3 to number 5 in the manufacturing sector. Last 2 years, just mentioned in your list. So, yeah, what was the reason that we lack, people have progressed fast? We lack more that we move from third to fifth?
Our share of manufacturing remains same, 2.5 to 3%.
Okay.
China was doing little bit low. They dropped to around 28 to 30%.
Okay.
They again rejumped to around 35%.
Okay, they have moved again back on their positions. Okay. We are the same.
Our contribution remains same.
We are steadily growing and they have been growing the least and downs.
So, export side, the government is pushing export. Like they have introduced redemption of the export duties. Whatever we import, if we are exporting same, so the duty exemption has been introduced, right?
Okay.
And there are a lot of things on the trade side and internal movement, custom duties, lot of reforms has been done. So there is a mindset has been changed from the government side and people side. And now we have started, our people and our industry have started believing that definitely there is a huge scope to focus on the manufacturing side. Few of the industries what we think which will do well and are doing well is electronics, textile, automobiles, chemicals, pharmaceuticals. So these are some sectors which are extremely doing well in the export side. They are contributing around 80% to 90% in export. Lack of deficit is there in the electronic side because from the IT software side, we were not thinking that we can do the electronic things in India, right? Everything was imported from mobile to TV to everything. Right? Mobile 20 years back, everything was imported. We were not believing that we are now can assemble in India and sell.
Right.
So last year we sold around 10 million mobile assembled in India and sent to other countries, which will reach to around 100 million mobile phones will be assembled in India. There is a huge deficit is being covered.
But are we actually completely manufacturing? See, there is a term called something like that, right? Which is how indigenous we are. So, any of the sectors we are still getting the equipment or raw materials or chips or from outside, we are assembling and sending. Is the same thing, or we are actually building something from scratch, maybe solar, or maybe defense sector? These are the sectors which are still growing. So, what's your thought in this case?
So raw material is still a constraint for us. We are depending on various countries, mostly in China and other countries for the our raw material. But at least now government is taking a step. They will now have the dumping duties on the products which can be manufactured in India. For example, now recently government has introduced the dumping duty of around 30% on PCB, right? Because now they believe that PCB can be manufactured in India. We were importing PCB and all electronic components from China till last 3 months. From April onwards, we have started believing that PCB can be done. So we started finding the source for the PCB. Right? So government is taking indirect initiatives also that whatever is being done in India, let's prove it in India. Right. So they are incorporating dumping duties.
Right.
Then the duty structure has been revised. But still, from the electronic side, I think lot of import dependency is there on China. Right. And semiconductor plants are coming, but it will take at least 3-4 years to inception and start production. But plan should be there, right? We have to start somewhere. So down the line, 3-4 years, slowly our dependency will. But localization, giving the opportunity for at least assembly to Indian workforce, that's also contributed.
Correct. So, I think you have an ample amount of experience, both of you. Just wanted to know, we have been, from last 10 years, we are seeing a lot of growth in IT sectors, and we are seeing that they are incorporating different sectors always. Like in manufacturing, in automation and increase, in lot of plants, maybe automobile sectors, so a lot of automation, robotic has introduced over there. So, what you see, what kind of leverages you see from IT, like AI, robotics, what we have moved and where we see in the coming time. So what's the percentage of what you can just give me the timeline, how we moving up? Are we up to the mark or what are the scopes?
So, digital transformation is there.
Right.
I strongly believe wherever there is a process, there is huge potential for digital transformation. And with AI coming in, almost every processes will be automated for sure. And that they are getting automated. And also give you some examples as well. So we start with function by function. Say for example, quality function. So here, quality function is basically man-dependent, human-dependent function, right? A person will have different way of looking at the quality. B will have different way of looking, and C will have something different. So any manufacturing unit had the different different quality output.
Yeah, human error you can say.
Because human error. But now this quality persons have been replaced with AI. Now I got a camera vision which I installed in my machines, inspection machines. So I don't need to inspect all this product manually. I got the good product, I will just capture the camera vision of that product. And with that I will compare
With the standard reference.
parts which are going into factory.
Okay.
Now, the human dependent aspect has become almost zero to this. And there is a job loss as well. So, in most of the quality related function, slowly and surely for these guys will be controlled. We say, for example, if there are 100 people, there will be only 10 people who will be left. So, this quality is one function. Then comes to supply chain. So, you all know that what typical supply chain manufacturing guy, what it does is keeps on calling suppliers day in day out. मेरा मॉडल कितना है? What is the current stock? What is stock in pipeline? What is how much I'm going to manufacture and how I will left out? And whether my physical stock is matching with my system stock or not. But with AI, most of the companies are going for digital power, supply chain power. What the digital supply chain power does is, I bought the vehicle, I know what the parts that I'm going to get fitted on that vehicle, I know which vendor is going to supply, I know what is the distance which is going to travel, I know what is this capacity, what is my current capacity, what is my safety stock, which is in factory, And with that, I can find out what is my delta vector. And this dashboard shows a real-time picture. And with that, I can also identify what are my critical parts, which I need to focus on. So the job of the supply chain guys, so usually there are 100 in any company, are surely go down going to 65 to 60 to 70%.
So,
All this colleagues, all of you are going to go down because your vehicle will also get tracked.
right.
Now you are calling driver and asking where are you on which gate you are.
We can
So
actually
you are
track it.
getting the real time visibility as well. So this is the second thing. Third is which has answered is on the repetitive jobs.
Mhm.
I'll give you example of how. So there is one I'll not give examples which I implemented a solution. So there is one industry which is giving its vehicle on contract basis to some other people.
Third party kind of.
Third party contract manufacturer. And this company is sending engines back number engines and there. So what used to happen is that there were 6 guys who were sitting working in 3 shifts, whose job was just to, once the engine is assembled, they will transfer this engine from one location to the sales location with engine serial number because engine serial number is very important.
Right. Unique.
And
That's
most of the time, what used to happen, since the engine serial number is taken to proprietary jet, these guys used to do some type of switching. And this is what hold up all the outbound logistics. So what I did, just with the help of AI, I just transferred this engine directly to
system which can automatically.
sales portfolio.
Right.
Now there is no work left for this sensor.
Right.
Okay, but in addition to that, I want a clean output. There is no typo mistake. There is a clean transfer from one location to another location.
100% surety.
And again, there is no vehicle holder, there is no line stoppages at the other gate as well because of this. So this is one example how AI also plays a role. And most of the repetitive tasks, be it your salary processing, your daily report preparation. I'll give example of daily report preparation. So in every industry, in every department, or in every function, there is one guy who sits daily in the morning for 2 hours. He prepares a report for his bosses to present. With AI and bot coming in, I automated all these reports. So there is one bot which runs, which captures the data from SAP, puts down in required format. Then there is another bot which runs and prepares in required presentation slide, and the report is ready for 9:30. So these guys are jobless. So there will be huge impact, and there will productivity rise as well.
So when you what about what do you think what kind of things will be? If you say like no, the production or manufacturing sectors, there are a lot of automation has gone on. So what is the present status and what you see in the future? What kind of automation will be helping us? Because we will be seeing a lot of jobs, will be losing a job, but we're also creating a lot of jobs. If 100 jobs you're losing, 10 jobs you're creating. So what are the things we're getting out of this? That's what we're looking for also.
So basically, see, to align with our long-term goal to export 1 billion of US dollar, right? We have to grow our manufacturing contribution in GDP from current 15% to around 25%, right? So basically, why automation or how digitalization will play a role? There are 2 things. One is we have to find a market, international market, and second thing is we have to strengthen our production capacities, right? And while strengthening this, the other 2 factors is quality and cost, right? So this is driving the introduction of digitalization in the manufacturing sector. First thing, consistent quality and the cost optimization on the raw material side, wastages, production efficiency, labor cost, everything, right? So these are the 2 things which we are considering in why we are adopting automation and having the AI in manufacturing setup. So how these are playing role? Basically, the digitalization is not taking the job from the man. Basically, this is the integration of the system, process, and humans, right? So how they are playing the role. Like we are introducing robots. Right? Why it is required? Basically for the consistency of the work, right? Repetition of the work with the same quality, and some of the safety hazard. Like I have worked in forging industry also, so we see that from the human point of view, it's not advisable in working casting forging industry, which because the things are not so complacent for the human body, right? Where robots will play the role. Some of the critical tasks which we are considering also in electronic industry, which are beyond the human capacity to do in the repetition work, where robot will play the role. But it will play a role in conjunction with the human. So we don't call it a robot, we call it as a robot.
Okay.
Right? So that's robot and automation will play the role. And see, basically, if we have to cater with the European market, because their labor availability is not there, so they are shifting to the automation, right? China, Vietnam, they are producing in huge quantity because of not only because of the workforce they have, but also because of the significant contribution of the automation and AI is playing role into reducing the waste, optimization of cost, and improving the quality.
So, do you really think what are the strategies we will be taking so that we will be at par with the other countries who are very best in the manufacturing? So, what are the strategies here? Or where we are standing today in automation or in the manufacturing sector today? And what strategies just to leverage, what kind of leverage we should use from digital transformation? That's what we are looking for. Present scenario and what the future, what's there?
Mix of both.
Yeah.
So,
No, so I could have summarized
I
that.
will tell present as well as what needs to be done.
Right,
Okay.
right.
So, if we talk about China as a manufacturing hub, there is a huge government funding and backing
Okay.
to all these industries. The power is cheap,
Right.
water is cheap,
Acha.
electricity is cheap. So, we need to support our industries like that.
Okay.
So, if someone is giving something, almost at no cost or no cost,
Hmm.
I cannot compete with that.
Correct.
So either I put a dumping duty on that, or the other option is that I also get the same level. So we need to support industries with cheaper power.
Infrastructure as well as
Infrastructure-wise.
yes.
Second is our ports.
Right.
Needs to be upgraded and needs to get connected
Right.
with all major tier 1 tier 2 cities. So and then of course there are some schemes that realized in Atmanirbhar Bharat. That is a major thing I think which India is going to excel in future will be manufacturing drones. Demand for drones will be huge.
Demands for
Drones.
drones. Yeah. That's the sector
There
coming
will
up.
be huge demand for drones, and India will be a manufacturing hub.
Yes.
Drones in some time.
Right. Defense sectors, I think, is doing very well in last few weeks.
Second is most of our we can export will come from defense sector.
Right. I think last 10 years, government has given a lot of incentives to start manufacturing. A lot of private players have jumped in. BPL, Kalani, they have got some vehicles. Then some howitzers, they are making some guns are also there. Tejas already made it. We are thinking of
There's
some
a Pinaka missile launcher.
Yeah.
Drones we are selling.
Right. So, what about the scenario, global scenario? If I see a lot of instability in the world complete world, you see Russia tomorrow there is a instability in Israel and all those things. People are looking into India, right? That this is a complete stable place where they can manufacture the things over there. And also one thing that we have to realize, they have got lost faith from China. That's what we are mentioning, that we are moving from Southeast Asia, Vietnam, and Indonesia. So, how we are attracting the investments from all over the world? Do you have any plans? How we are supposed to increase the things?
So basically, you can't call it yourself stable or isolated from global.
But as compared to other, we are more focused on
I'll just give you an example. So whether it is Russia-Ukraine war or the Israel which is taking place, it is going to affect India for sure.
Sure.
Uh, so So Ukraine is a producer of meat, right?
Yes, and the best part the engines also, I think, heard best.
So due to this Russian-Ukraine war, meat prices are down.
Right.
This has affected us as well.
But we do have exported a lot of goods
We
also.
are exported, but this is going to affect us.
Yeah, of course.
The prices are going to shoot up for sure, and they are looking up.
Right.
Anything happens in Israel or so suppose Suez Canal is blocked, it is going to impact oil prices.
Correct. But we have also taken the advantages of Russia-Ukraine war. If you see the kind of instability we see, we are selling our Russian oil, we are processing and then selling it. Pharmaceutical industry withdraw from complete Russia. There was a huge void. So Indian pharmaceutical industry went over there, started, providing the pharmaceuticals product. The only thing is that we had a raw product coming from China. So such kind of things were still a dependency. So how we are coming up so that completely we have Atmanirbhar kind of thing, we have raw material, we are producing and providing to the world. So that kind of mindset or manufacturing, how would we are in that?
So we cannot isolate ourselves globally. Whatever happens. If you are seeing Chinese strategy, they have acquired most of the critical mines, Indian mines or across the world.
Right.
So in the same way, in case we want to be independent across all of India around us, we need to have base metal with us.
Correct.
Right?
Raw material
Manufacturing,
infrastructure.
if we are every time getting dependent on Chinese things, which we are right now, very difficult for us to become Atmanirbhar. But surely for that, we are getting into this Adani, for example, he is into ports.
Yeah, he's everywhere
He
actually.
is everywhere, so he is capturing most of the ports across the world.
Right.
That is one important thing.
So that's good, right?
That is good, right?
Yeah.
So in this, all we need to strategize where we want to go and then start working on that one.
Okay. Ranjit, what about the EVs? Right now, we are seeing last 5 years, we are seeing EV manufacturing has been gone up, but the still cost is high. So, what was your take on this? When we can expect that EVs will reduce cost and we can have better affordable over there? Because if you see two-wheelers or four-wheelers, they're still very competitive prices. So, I think vehicles and the EVs are high. So, what is the thing that is blocking us? What is the thing that will help us to propel and get the things that are much affordable price, we can say? Because if you see, there may be 500 components in IC manufacturer, whatever vehicles are there. The DC motors are there, and the batteries. So, how would we are manufacturing batteries? What is blocking us?
There are more components, there are many components into that.
Yeah, maybe.
Battery management system, battery.
Right. Lot of electronic components are there. Yes.
These are all critical components which are not manufactured here.
Okay. So when we can expect it? What's the propelling, if you can say, okay, what kind of steps has been taken just to make sure in coming time, 3 years, 5 years down the line, we can expect that cost will go down? Or what do you think?
Electric vehicle in India, we started at least 6-7 years back. It's not so far. The ICE technology took around 20-25 years to get mature.
Right.
So for the EV side, we are still in the premature technology. Like we are not adopted that stage that entire EV technology and ecosystem is stable. Right?
Okay.
Lot of innovation and new technology is coming every few months.
Right.
So, and that is required because, as you rightly said, EV is still not affordable. There is a myth in when we see affordability. Is anyone having or owning the EV here, two-wheeler, three-wheeler, or four-wheeler?
But still we have one.
So I own the EV. I drive Nexon.
Okay.
Nexon, right? So EV has to be looked into total cost of ownership. It should not be looked isolation with just a capital investment what we are doing. If we see 2 years before, the initial investment on the EV side, even if we take two-wheeler, three-wheeler, four-wheeler, was high.
Right.
In last 2 years, and that is basically because of the battery, right? Because EV battery's contribution in EV is around 40 to 40,
Yes,
50%, right? It is still reducing, and there are a lot of new technology has come that battery cost and battery life, the cost is coming down, the life is going up,
Right.
the range is going investment is going up. So lot of innovation and new technology is coming in India. So affordability we have achieved. Now if you say two-wheeler, right? Any two-wheeler, let's say scooter. I'm not talking about scooty or scooterette. I'm talking about scooter.
Okay.
Right. So if you take the cost of maybe Jupiter, the TVS Jupiter ICE engine, it's around 85-90,000 to 1 lakh.
Right.
If we consider the similar platform EV, Bajaj Chetak or TVS iQ, it costs around 110 to 120,000.
Correct.
So still there is a difference of around 10 to 15,000, which was earlier, maybe 1 year back, around 40 to 50,000.
Yes, that was
It has drastically reduced to around, now gap is around just 10 to 20,000. Right. But if we see the total cost of ownership, every day we have to refuel the ICE vehicle. But here we don't have to refuel it. Right. The operational cost drastically comes down.
Right.
Right. Now I have a Duster and I have the Nexon. Earlier, for the same distance, daily 50 to 60 kilometers, the monthly expenditure on the fuel was around 10,000 to 12,000. I'm just taking the comparison between the home to office and office to home.
Yeah.
Right. Now if I see the electricity bill, it has gone up from 2,000 to now 4,000. So additional 2,000 is being spent on the ABCP for the charging of the EV. So I've saved around 10,000 rupees on the monthly side. The initial cost is still high, but the operational cost is going down. Plus the driving comfort, right? The traffic will increase daily, right? It is become mismanaged, right? So whatever the driving comfort is there, you cannot compare it easily. Where we have to change the gears, right? Simplify that. So we have to see the total cost of ownership and the driving comfort on the EV side.
And what are the PLI schemes or government initiatives that they can do this to make us? Is there anything you roadmap of that?
So till March 2024, government continued FAME 2. FAME, maybe you are all aware, FAME is basically the faster adoption of hybrid and electric mobility, right? So FAME 1 was there and FAME 2 was incorporated in 2019, which is outlay of around 10,000 crore to be spent in 3 years, right? For 10 lakh two-wheelers, 5 lakh three-wheelers, 50,000 four-wheelers, and around 7,000 buses. So this has to be distributed in this kind of in 3 years. It was discontinued in 2024 March in last budget, but it has been replaced by electric mobility faster adoption. EMFS, new scheme has been launched. Now government is not outrightly supporting the EV, but they are indirectly supporting in terms of localization, dumping duty incorporation, reducing the dependency on China and other parts, giving benefit and through PLI. So they have increased the outlet for the PLI also. So that's a combination. It's not to be looked in isolation that FAME there, but PLI is there. Other benefits are there. So I'm an electronic manufacturing company. I am also in EV. So lot of support is there from the government side. Whatever investment I am doing, I invested 50 crores. I will be investing 50 crores in next 3 years for setting up my EV plant. Everything will get back to me. At least 75% to 80% in next 3 years in terms of GST reduction, right? If whatever capacity announcement I will do, the production capacity will be announced, I will get back. So I am just investing from my pocket right now, but it will get refunded in terms of GST reduction in the next 3 years.
So that's a good scheme that
So electronics and e-mobility is the future. It's a decade of electronics right now. We are at right way. Whoever is working in electronic industry will see the huge boom. Lot of opportunity will be there in next 10 years of span.
So one more thing, we have already seen what EVs can do, two-wheeler, four-wheeler. What kind of thing we can expect in future? What kind of incorporation do we see in manufacturing? What kind of features we are still going to have in this? I think this is not the topmost thing we have seen, or we are still yet to see that.
So basically, if we see the ICE got developed, the efficiency got improved, the noise got down. Now EV we started working on it. The EV cost will go down, range will increase, right? Now hybrid will come.
Acha, hybrid vehicle. Okay.
Right? So people have started already working in EV. So EV will take another 10-15 years to get maturity to sustain, but parallelly hybrid will come.
Hybrid means
Now the technology span, right?
Acha, but there is also something that
Hydrogen and EV work together. The EV and ICE will work together.
okay, simultaneous. IC is definitely going to be there in some time also.
So till the time we ensure attain the maturity we need,
Right.
I just want to stay for sure.
That's the backbone you can say now.
Second is, if you see the Chinese players,
Right.
they are technically integrated. For example, BYD,
Right.
they are into manufacturing of batteries,
Right.
manufacturing of cars.
Right.
The same battery which is getting manufactured is going into their cars. So the end-to-end cost comes down
Very low as compared to.
and to compete with them
It's difficult
is
over
very
there.
difficult because all the mines are in technology with the same source.
Okay.
Most of them, it's not all mines, most of them.
Right.
If we see our fuel consumption, right, the petrol and diesel side, 60% of the fuel we consume on the two-wheeler.
Okay.
Whatever import we do, the 60% what consume in two-wheelers. So government is focusing to have the faster transition from ICE two-wheeler to EV two-wheelers,
Hmm.
right? And the penetration is also high
Right.
in two-wheelers. So maybe in next 5 years, most of the ICE will get converted into EV, right?
Right.
So it will help in reducing the current deficit, the fuel import, right? The spend can be done on benefiting the manufacturing side and funding the government schemes.
Right.
Plus, renewable energy sector is doing tremendously well.
Yes.
So
Solar.
our contribution in total energy consumption now has around 25 to 30% is from the renewable sources,
Right.
right? Where also manufacturing will play the huge role. The electronic industry will play the huge role in solar energy, wind energy, and the other renewable energy sources, right? So this will boost the manufacturing side and the other industries.
Correct. Right. Last question I want to do. We just wanted to know what kind of advice you like to give to all the people sitting over here in coming time that we should incorporate what kind of ideas or challenges that we should manage in the IT in manufacturing sector you like to address anybody encounter problem. You think that this is what we have achieved, but there is still hope of that we need to bring in the past or we need to improvise something like that. So, what is the challenges in managing the IT solutions or maybe
As you from IT side. So first thing is try to reduce using ChatGPT because it will kill your creativity for sure. You will stop thinking as long as you are getting easy output from something. Is one advice. But normally people follow those use cases part. So it will take some efforts for you to get off that. Second is with respect to IT, unlike other functions, the technology is changing almost on daily basis. So you need to cope up yourself with all the rapidly changing technology across each sector, means whether it is IT infrastructure or IT security or any business application. Things are changing very rapidly. So you need to keep on learning, unlearning and relearning again.
thanks.
See, right now we are in the golden era of manufacturing,
Oh, that's
right? So whoever working right now from age of 20 to 60, all we are sitting in the golden era. This is the right time and we have everything. The opportunities are tremendous for us in all sectors, whether you are working IT, manufacturing, electronic, textile, any sector, everything is booming because India is booming, right? India is what we see and now we feel it. Now India का time आ गया है, समय लग रहा है, right? So why that feeling is there? Because we are doing reasonably good in all sectors, plus improving our infrastructure is for doing business. The manufacturing industry next 10 years will do miracles. Right? It will grow tremendously because contribution of 50% it will go to 25%, so huge opportunity will be created. So any idea which is worthwhile of doing manufacturing feasibility, we need to explore it, right?
Right.
and we have to see how the industry will take shape. So our vision should be there, how industry will going to change next year, the 2 years down the line, 3 years down the line. Am I a part of the growing industry sector? Do I need to adopt new skills? See, I am from the mechanical background. I am example in front of you sitting. I don't have the electronic background. I don't know E of electronics. 1 year back, I passed my elements of electronic engineering, which is one of the subject in graduation with 40 out of 100 marks, right? So I'm scared of electronics, but I learn electronics. I learn EV.
So adaptability is one thing.
Adaptability has to be there. So this given opportunity to myself to become a CEO of electronic company. Having the mechanical background. So if I can get this opportunity, everyone can get this opportunity.
Right.
But we have to adopt the new skill, continuous learning, see what is happening in and around the world. And are we self-sufficient to face that kind of challenges and take advantage of the opportunity?
So in nutshell, we should have flexible mindset. We have to keep in open mind that whatever comes to it, we have to see as a this is a challenge, this is a problem statement here, and we have to provide a solution, irrespective of the domain sector. Learning opportunity, yes. So I like to open this forum for questions. So I think if you have any questions, we are happy to take that for audience. Yes.
And so, as we are saying, कि India is manufacturing and India is booming so much, Indian manufacturing sector, but it is going at the cost of climate change. Because India, as it in south, so temperature is increasing so much in India also, and also the rivers are not so much clean in India, and also there is a problem of dumping stations out of every cities in India. So as we are saying, the manufacturing sector is growing and that energy demands needs so much energy. But right now, if you will see the energy demands that comes from coal or the gases and petroleum, not that much from renewable energy. So as a manufacturing companies, or what are the possible solutions for it? And more on that, besides the government policy, government will do their work, their policies making, but what we can do for these things.
See, everything is linked up, right? We have taken a goal for decarbonization, right? We have to achieve certain kind of decarbonization by 2030. That's a goal we have taken, right? So decarbonization will not happen automatically. It has to be, we have to see various aspects of decarbonization, right? Renewable energy, we are is maybe at Chandrapur. We can do something thermal pollution at one particular area, then doing all the major across roads and affecting most of the population. So it has to be seen from all perspectives, right?
It's a process driven, you can say. This goal is for you taking the steps so as to mitigate whatever
So
problems we have.
what is that? So basically this mindset has come from most of the European countries that it is
Sustainable development goal, yeah.
export, you need to be sustainable.
Right.
Okay, so these countries who are telling us to be sustainable are now moving to from electric coal-based power plants. Why? Because of this Ukraine-Russian war. Okay, so the energy prices shot up in Europe because the gas is coming from Russia to Europe. That is in power.
Right. So they want to reduce the dependence.
So now these countries they are now gone to coal-based generation. Okay, this is one part. Second is sustainability has started slowly coming into our Indian manufacturers as well. So government is now tracking their sustainability score. Slowly, every company will be taking a target. What is the current score is and where they need to go. Maybe initially it will be 5%, 10% reduction, but it is going to come for sure. For example, so how we have reduced the carbon footprints. So we have what we did is that we knew how many vehicles we are going to manufacture, which parts are coming from which location, which vehicles transferring those parts, how many trips they are going. So with this combination, this truck type, vehicle type rather, number of trips and the distance, we calculated which is the most polluting vendor. And how do I reduce the number of trips, how do I reduce the vehicle size. And with this optimization, what we did is we reduce the carbon footprint by just 50%. So this is the way things are going to come. Other is good example is paper. So most of the companies are having this paperless approach system, and with paperless approach system coming in, we can save close to 30 full-grown trees every year. So this is the what impact comes due to sustainability.
Thank you. One more question I have. As we are saying, the AI, automation, all things are coming into our industry, and as you said, it increase the efficiency. But as we like India have a great workforce, like young workforce, but they don't have that much good business because they are just coming from a school or college. So how we will both integrate each other, because from when we come from the college, we are still so much fresher. We don't have that much know about the back and what is going on industry one. And like if you will talk about in the colleges, they don't keep that good courses or something. So how they will cope up all these things?
How to bridge the gap, you want to say, so that the industry gets
So with AI coming in, it is going to kill jobs, especially in computer programming for sure. So all this L1 L2 level programming is going to go with ChatGPT. So thing which will be in demand, which will be all experts. So out of 100 jobs, I think going forward, only 30 to 40 is highly skilled job will be there. Rest 40 to 50 guys will need to find some other ways or need to shift to some other areas.
Thank you.
Because one good example which I read is that Google has hired close to 10,000 Python developers. So this is the trend that will be coming up.
So I think a lot of e-learning resources on YouTube channels you can get it and you can learn yourself. So I think the traditional approach of thinking going to the colleges and learn from there and then to approach, I think that's a bottleneck. I can give you a lot of examples. Those who have not gone to the colleges, they have not got traditional education system, but they themselves have learned the skills by using the free resources we have. I think we are in the era where we have a lot of we have data, we have a lot of YouTube channels, a lot of content creator in vernacular languages we have started getting it right now. So I think that should not be the problem of the coming generations here. We have to just learn that attitude has to be there, approach has to be there, and solutions are there in the market.
You need to have passion and expertise for sure to sustain.
Yes, that's true.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Any more questions?
Hello, sir. So I used to mainly work with acquiring US clients first for our organization, and I realized after talking to them that even though US is so far ahead of India, they still have so many paper-based processes, and that is something that was surprising for us. And as I shifted recently to India business, what I'm surprised about that the Indian managers or people who want to automate their process or something. So they mainly focused on the cost of the solution rather than the value that the solution might provide to them their businesses. So and along with it, why do you think the digital transformation is so slow for the business? Like if US is still on paper-based processes, how long it will take India to catch up on the digital transformation for the paper-based processes to convert to digital?
So basically, you are right, you said we are slow, but definitely we are going slow. So some of the reasons why we are slow is basically the legacy system and the infrastructure, right? What we have, it's not supporting the complete digitalization, right, and implementation of AI, right? Plus, right skill set labor, as he pointed out, that we don't have that skill set who will support AI plus digitalization of the current legacy system. So it has to be a conglomeration of both. We have to work upon our legacy infrastructure. We have to educate our people, and slowly we have to adopt integration. Every year we have to take target that from 10% we will go to 20%, 30%, 40%, like that. Firstly, it has to be started from the original equipment manufacturer, right? The OEM has to establish this visualization. Then they should embark this culture. They should help the tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3 suppliers how it will benefit in reducing the cost. Though our entire focus, this Indian mindset, we focus on cost. Rather, we don't look at the value. That's a mindset. But it will change, right? It will not change because our grandfathers, forefathers, mothers, and we are also thinking from cost point of view, right? We don't see the value. But it will change, right? Once we start realizing that if we spend something but we are return and the value is much more than that, we will start spending on that. And the initial investment is huge. So still Indian industry is not that much ready to having the capital investment on digitalization. It will also impact on the manpower reduction, right? Which we are not ready from the mindset, right? So it has to be balanced of all these factors we have to take care.
So maybe coming time we can have such kind of things, digitalization going up.
One example of this which we are very good with respect to other countries, even this UPI payment, right? And no country has adopted this, or a few countries are adopted that.
Yes.
Even if you go to the remotest part of India, I give you an example which I was going for a long drive and I forgot my wallet. And I wanted to go to local food over there. I just checked my wallet, I was nothing in my hand. And mobile was there. So over there as well, that little chat that states at vendor and the UPI payment with it. So this is how we are digitally connected, which no other country is. Second example which I want to give is of COVID. So most of the countries across the world were having this paper certificate. We are the only country, or maybe few countries, having this app wherein I could track whether I am certified or not, or whether I taken 3 booster dose, 2 booster dose or not. A few friends in Germany they were saying that it was so good that they are carrying that certificate in their pocket, whereas we used to just show our
QR code and scan it up. I think there is a lot of financial inclusion has been done from last few years. We have seen we don't hardly visit to the banks right now. We just have to open a bank new account. We can just get a call, we get a or whatever location we have. So I think we have stopped going to the bank. Banks operations has gone to digitalization. A lot of things are there. So that's the best part of it right now. Yeah. Any other question from the
Hello, sir. As you mentioned about AI in quality inspection and in manufacturing, so I would like to ask a question on this. That does AI will increase the manufacturing in India?
AI will the productivity and the quality in India.
Yeah, productivity and quality I'm talking about.
Yes. Sure, yes, we will.
And it will also improve the preventive maintenance, right? The long run preventive maintenance, right? It will help. AI will definitely help in forcing the machine breakdowns, right? That's a definitely we see.
Does AI will replace right now we can see that there are many people from quality or who are doing the front kind of job. So this kind of job replaced by AI.
So
So
wherever the company is cash rich and ready to afford the transformation journey, and wherever possible, the jobs will go.
thank you.
But
Sir.
it's too far. At least Indian mindset is not ready to adopt 100% integration, right? It will be a slow process. It will be 20, 30 years process that we see that 100% integration will happen. So there is no immediate threat of the job, but definitely we have to upgrade the skills, we have to learn this, and we have to part of this journey, right?
Have you started it, right?
No, it's not yet started.
It's not much started. So what is that we are looking up to? It's a manufacturing sector. Which country, which sector we should look up that they have actually adopted complete digitalization in the manufacturing sector. For example, if you take say Tesla Gigafactory, they said that they are completely automation. Is that we are looking forward for? That's a pinnacle of automation in manufacturing.
So there are companies like that, not the
No,
share rather 60-70%
in India,
Yes.
okay.
All these small things such as even factory automation, I would say that whether that dryers, whether that safety shoe or not,
Right. Actually,
that
that is
level they are capturing.
okay.
Even they have got solar panels on the top, they are not using any manual labor to clean the solar panels.
Right.
They are using drones to clean the solar panels.
Robots are also, I think, I've seen
They are
some.
using drones to
Okay,
clean the
robots.
solar panels.
Okay.
So at this stage, the automation is not.
Okay. We are still in a world we are moving ahead in that case. Yeah.
That's what I said. In case I got the profits, I can spend it.
We did as fast as possible.
Sir, one more question I have. As China is ahead in IT software adoption for competitive advantage, so how India looks at IT and how is the challenges in adopting IT in India?
I think the Indian IT sector is ahead of China with respect to adoption. We have got a good, rather, this advantage of English speaking, which China doesn't have. So it will take China some time to come up to our level, but as of now, we are quite ahead of them in terms of IT services and IT technology.
Thank you, sir.
Is there any question? Okay.
Being working in an IT company, I know that multiple data is processed currently, and we have our own data security measures we follow. So my question is, how can manufacturers ensure their data security? Will it be AI, robotics, or anything else?
So, which sector you are into?
In IT company,
IT which sector?
I mean marketing,
Okay.
but I
So-
know that multiple data is being produced.
One sector which is going to bloom for sure for next 25 to 30 years is IT security. Okay, so if you want to make a career into that, go for it. Coming to your question, we need to separate out our OT and IT network for sure. Whatever data which we are capturing from our IoT network, the most important thing is we need to identify which all data is important. Not every data we should capture. And out of whatever data we have captured, we need to filter out. There is something called as low pass filter and high pass filter in the electronics, right? In the same way, we need to filter out that data which we want to from this IoT network. And that data we need to store into our IoT network. We should not, as far as possible, expose to cloud network. And even if we have to have a connection between your IT and IoT network, there should be a firewall in place to secure that. But try to isolate, try to influence that as far as possible. Have an MDR solution in place, plug the USB and all the basic things which are required.
Yeah, first of all, thank you, Ranjit and Anand, for the insights that you guys shared. Ranjit, you shared so many stats. I don't know, can you remember all those? My question is, you said that there has to be a balance, right? That we have to see that the digitalization that we do, it does not happen at the cost of, say, eliminating our current workforce. But then, as leaders, how are you making that balance? What are those priorities that you are tackling? So, for you, what are the priorities in terms of IT adoption, say, digital transformation, or the adoption of AI and ML in your processes?
So basically, in my company, I started adopting innovation some of the benefits what I see by this project we took 6 months back, right, on few of the assembly lines of doing detection from we have reached to around 70 to 80% fully automatic robot operated. Basically, electronic manufacturing required that kind of precision and the quality, and the volume size was huge, right? We are exporting to US, and this is the first kind of export because India is known for importing the electronics. So we got a huge order from the US, and that kind of requirement was there on the Curtis is the customer. So how it is helping, right? We have to be balancing on from the humanity side that we cannot outlay the current manpower, but we cannot also ignore the benefits what we are getting, right? So for that particular line, what I see, I have reduced at least 35% reduction in the downtime, right? Which was my prerequisite. My line should not be stopped. It is running 3 shifts every day with full capacity, right? Because that kind of demand is there. And they monitor digital, right? What we are doing on the line, how the product is getting manufactured, what are the quality parameters, what is the PPM, IPM, right? So that kind of requirement was there, right? And it is a customer driven setting. They have invested in doing automation for their line. So we got funded, right? At least 80% fund we got from them. 15% increase in overall equipment effectiveness. So if I am using my equipment with more efficiency, right, I am increasing my profit, which will be distributed to the people, right? If I am removing people from that area, but I will put definitely in some other area, and the profit will be redistributed to them, right? 20% growth in manufacturing output, right? Same capacity, same machines was doing. If they are equipped for 100 per hour, they are producing 120 units per hour. So my efficiency output has increased. 25 to 40% reduction in cost. So I am selling on the raw material, the wastage, everything is contributed to my profit, right? Which is getting redistributed, reinvested for the employee benefits for the company. So it has to be looked from every angle, right? If I earn profit, then only I can sustain, and sustainability will be there for the people.
My take on this is that not everything requires AI. Only things which are the rest, I think we can balance it out.
So, Amit, are you saying that robotic process automation, or what we are calling is today as intelligent process automation, that is one of the key priority areas for companies like you?
Sorry, company.
Robotic process automation, or we are referring it as intelligent process automation nowadays. So is that your key priority area now?
Yeah, RP is also key priority area, especially for, as I told you, repetitive and transactional jobs, which normal human should not be doing that actually.
I have a small question. So, what are the challenges you face, and how much time you require to do the complete automation and all these things? Means you have got a lot of advantages, like your downtime on other players and all those things. So, there are a lot of advantages. So, what are the challenges you have, and how much time you require to do this?
This automation what we did is just for the assembly and manufacturing side, but still the supply chain, logistics,
Still, there is
quality. These all areas are still far away from the automation.
Okay.
So still the manual dependency is there. But from the assembly side, at least we have reached to 80%. A lot of challenges are there because we don't see the right set of people are available.
Okay. So skill
Skill
manpower.
set is definitely a shortage in India.
Okay.
We feel we are educated, but we are not equipped with the right skill.
At par that we require in the market. Okay. That's good to know. Yeah. Any more questions?
Hello, sir. Sir, as you mentioned that India contributes 2.5 to 3% in the infrastructure. So apart from that reason, apart from the infrastructure reason, is there any reason, particular reason that has slowed down the India's manufacturing in the last 2 years? As you mentioned that we were on the third position, and right now from the last 2 years we are at the fifth position. So what else is stopping India or slowing down the manufacturing process in India?
So basically, there are other reasons. Is we are not attracting enough FDIs, right, foreign direct investment, which will be a contributor for the manufacturing export. One of the main areas is land reform. So this government earlier they tried to have the land reform bill, which they passed. So earlier land reform was not so industry friendly, right? In India, the land acquisition is a troublesome job. It's a headache, right? It takes at least 2 years to infinite years for acquiring the land for industry usage, right? And there are various steps which industry has to take. So that is one of the things. Plus the labor laws. The labor laws, the union laws are not so industry friendly, right? And there is huge resistance from humanity side that government cannot change the labor laws in one day, right? It has to be industry friendly. So current labor laws are not industry friendly. So these are the reasons why foreign companies are not so thinking to invest in India. They don't get land, they don't get right labor. If they get labor, labor issues will be there, right? The fixed wages and other things, which Vietnam, Malaysia, and China is also very friendly for the industry. Now, ease of doing business, one stop window for all the permissions, the whatever the compliances what we have to do. Now, government is reducing. Last budget they have reduced around 39,000 compliances which are required for setting up the industry. They have been redundant, right? So, government is working on many of the aspects, but these are the things will take time. But we see 5 years, most of these things will not be there as a hurdle for us.
Thank you, sir.
I think we have taken up the questions and we should call for the session for today. So, I'd like to thank everyone that you have joined today for Saturday and another fruitful discussion with Anand and Andy. So, thank you. Thanks a lot for that.
Thank you for moderating.
Yes.